Now, giving advice was Brother John.
Indeed.
You are dressed as a monk. Is this the monk of the abbey?
This is the full dress of the choir monk for a Cistercian abbey.
Okay, so if we describe that dress, as we're only audio.
Black hood, black apron called a scapula, and a white habit.
Right, so this was the Cistercian order's dressing.
Yes.
Now, before they were Cistercian, what were they before Cistercian? Were they Benedictine?
They split from the Benedictines because they thought that the Benedictines were veering too far from the original rule of Benedict.
So you are quite noticeable for visitors on this day because you're dressed as a monk and people say, "Oh, it's a ghost." No, it's not, it's Brother John.
I have had a number of times when I've been disguised. Well, people have believed I was a ghost. I think probably most notably setting up one morning first thing and some students, I suspect from art students from the sixth form, were in sketching, and I came past here and I heard a gasp and I looked and there was a white face at the window and I then just ducked out of sight. I then crept across there and looked over the gap in the wall there, and there was three of them with clipboards running hell for leather for the fence, and one of them, I don't believe you, he actually hurdled the spiked fence at the end. He went over like a gazelle.
Right, you must have that aura about you.
And there's a few times I've been walking around here in the gear and you hear cars brakes screech.
Yeah, thinking they've seen something.
Because they've seen something.
Get the camera out quick. So what are you showing people when they stop to talk to you today?
I've got a number of artefacts here. One of the more unusual ones, which very few people actually get at. It's a medieval watering can.
Okay, I might take a photograph of that shortly.
It's got a hole in the top.
Yeah.
You sink it into the bucket, you put your thumb over the hole, you bring it out, and no water will come out until you lift your thumb.
Right, so that's...
And that's a lovely little watering can for small to medium
so
herbs in pots.
Are you showing things to do with herbal remedies and plants today?
I do have, must still be in the bag, I do have some St John's wort with me.
Yes.
Which produces a miraculous oil, which if you put this round about the middle of June into a glass jar, fill it full of this and olive oil, leave it till perhaps the end of September, early October. You take it out and you have a mud-coloured liquid. Mm-hmm. You start to strain that through muslin, and on about the seventh straining, suddenly it comes out miraculously bright red.
Wow.
And that's why it's called St John's wort, because it reminds us of the blood of St John the Baptist.
Of course, yeah.
I also have with me this delightful little device, if it will come out. There we are.
We'll get some photos of these shortly.
That's fine. I don't know what you're talking about, but that's fine.
No, as a 13th century monk, you won't have much idea what I'm on about.
This is a bloodletting cup.
Oh, that was the answer to all illnesses.
Two ways of using it.
Yeah.
You can stick it over the leech to make sure the leech bites where you want it to.
Okay.
Or alternatively, you can cut, place this over, and then heat this, and as it expands, it pulls the blood out of the wound. So, useful little device.
So you must have a great depth of knowledge of this period if you come here not pretending. You are the monk today, aren't you? You are.
I hope I am. And I hope I do. Well, interestingly enough, the monks here originally had settled at Tulceth.
Yeah.
Which is close to Preston.
It is, yeah.
But they said it wasn't remote or wild enough. They wanted somewhere...
No, I know where the site is. It was on a cliff overlooking the river, and it was pretty open and blustery and open to observation.
That's interesting, because the site you have here is classic Cistercian. You're in a valley with water moving through it. I mean, you take the similarities, I know the scale's different, but the similarities between the site here and Fountains, for instance, is very interesting, because they're both very typical Cistercian sites.
And building stone nearby.
Yeah, building stone nearby.
And with the wealth of ore.
I think that would have
sheep
helped.
And farming and minerals.
I think that Stephen granted them the land here in an attempt to Normanise this area. Because we're right on the very fringes.
Isolated, wasn't it?
It was isolated, and it was isolated from the land, but of course it's very accessible by sea.
Yeah.
I mean, people tend to think that this was a remote peninsula. Yeah, it is, but it has a finger poking straight at the middle of the Irish Sea shipping lanes.
Okay, you've just got out of your pocket something you call a pocket sundial, and indeed it is.
It is. It's a
Tell me about
remarkable. Basically, you have the sundial on a piece of wood with a compass attached inside it, a little bit of glass over the top, and when you get the sundial to point north, it gives you the time, and it's telling us it's just after 12 o'clock at the moment. And of course, this is working on Greenwich Mean, not British summertime, so it's absolutely dead on.
Honestly, they had everything covered, didn't they? So, how old? When would that sort of have been in use? Something like this, a pocket lamp?
Quite late Middle Ages.
Because the ones you see, you often see them in churchyards in stone, just
Yes,
the birds sit on them.
they do that. I know that the Mary Rose, they found at least one pocket sundial on there.
Okay.
There is, according to legend, a little marking in Urswick Church which could be a medieval sundial.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of the time people wouldn't stick to that kind of time scale. They'll say, I'll come over in the morning.
Yeah,
I'll see you in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And of course the monks here, they know what the hours are because the bells are rung regularly on the hour.
Yeah.
In fact, if you go into round the corner, go into here, into the crossing and move towards this end of it, the chapter house end of it,
Right
there's a big hole in the wall. There are some people who reckon that actually may have housed a large late medieval clock in the time. You can see a medieval clock works at Cotteal on the Devon Corner, Cornwall border. It's a massive thing.
Right, so yeah, but the ordinary person would just use big chunks of time.
I
This
would
morning,
suspect so.
This afternoon,
No.
tonight, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.